Hello and welcome along to day 4 of Glorious Goodwood, where the feature action is the King George Qatar Stakes, a Group 2 race over 5 furlongs where the Charlie Hills trained Batash goes for a hat-trick of wins at this meeting. This horse, when he's on his day, is probably the best sprinter on the planet. Last year in this race, he produced an exceptionally good performance to win this race. He has come up short at Group 1 level 1 or 2 times. He is a little bit of a lunatic, we know that. But he does tend to save his best for Glorious Goodwood. Batash will be the star attraction on day 4. Once again, I'm joined with 2 excellent pundits, Sam Turner and Andrew Mount. Guys, Batash, is he a banker? Can he be beaten? Is he worth taking on? What do we think?
Was this why you identify with Batash? Because he's a bit of a lunatic who saves his best for Goodwood. Is that you?
I can't say I saved my best for Goodwood.
He's certainly one of the best sprinters on the planet now they've retired. The horse that beat him at Ascot a couple of years running, Blue Point.
Yeah. And he's certainly one of the best sprinters on the planet on a straight track.
Over 5 furlongs.
I'm convinced Catchy would beat Blue Point and beat Batash if they run at Chester, but we'll never get to see that, unfortunately.
Or Lingfield.
I'll take either.
Yeah, it's a fascinating race. He's obviously going to be a very prohibitive price, isn't he, at 4 to 7. But, you know, he is 2 from 2 here, and for some reason he just doesn't fire to the same sort of capability at Ascot. But I mean, you can't knock the horse. I mean, he's run 2 very creditable races in the King's Stand. He's just been beaten by a very good horse who then went on to win a Golden Jubilee. So
a few days later,
in great fashion. So, you know, it's a horrible cliche. He didn't lose much in defeat. Of course he did, you know, but it was still a tremendously creditable
one thing
performance.
worth mentioning, he's won this from stall 1 for the last 2 years. You often get a big field in this sort of 16, 17 runners, and it's not a good idea to be drawn high right next to that stand side rail. The ground's sometimes slower over there. Last year when it was soft, it was a massive advantage to be drawn low and race far side of centre down the straight course. He could be good enough to do it anyway wherever he's drawn, but yeah, just do hold fire if you're thinking of taking 4 to 7. If you end up drawing sort of 15 of 15, that might be a little bit tricky compared to last year and the year before.
Now, I'm going to go with a mental one for this race.
Are you?
At a bit of a price, yeah. He's 25 to 1 at the time of recording, but even at half those odds on the day, I'd suggest that he's a decent each-way bet, and that's Tim Easterby's Copper Knight. He's a 5-year-old now. He's a highly tried performer in handicap company, but he's improved a little bit with every passing season. Has a Copper Knight. He was not at his best in the City Wall Stakes at York last time out, but he still managed to win, you know. And before that at Newcastle, again he was beaten, but he was carrying a massive weight. And I do like it when horses carry big weights and run big races in handicap company. Just on his speed figures from A to B, I think he's starting to come together as a potential group performer, Copper Knight.
Well, this is one of the fastest 5 furlongs run, isn't it? The downhill at Goodwood on fast ground, and he's capable of sort of sub 58 seconds at York, isn't he? This horse. Yeah. I mean, he's got an incredible history, hasn't he, Copper Knight? I mean, he was picked up for 5,000 guineas. By his previous connections, and then obviously he's been sold to Midland Park, Ventura Racing and Partner. But I mean, he was extraordinary value at $5,000 because he's been winning those York handicaps for however long. I agree with you. I think 25 to 1 for him. Yes, he's got a bit of a jump to make to obviously get anywhere near Batash, but there'll be plenty of markets without the favourite, each-way markets as well, because you'd imagine there'd be decent subscription of runners here. I think he's a real contender for the frame because he's got that lightning brazen speed, and he might just hold on.
And I'm pretty sure making that transition from handicapper to Group 3, Group 2 sprinter is not always that
difficult.
It's a minimal jump, isn't it? El Astronaute is one of the second favourites for this race at 10 to 1. Now, of course, he's done the same thing. And you go back a few years, he was running off a mark of 86 here at Goodwood over 5 furlongs. He finished 10th. You know, he's now been winning handicaps off 106 and winning listed races and placing in group company. So, and this is his time of year as well, Copper Knight, so I certainly wouldn't put him off him.
Well, Tim Easterby, I think, is definitely going to run him in this race, and I think he's also got one eye on the Nunthorpe.
I think the Nunthorpe obviously is the one that you would think at a big price you'd be interested in.
Excuse my French, but I've got to mention Big Brother's Pride for Francois Roja. I'm not sure that's how you pronounce his name, but it's basically the French horse.
6 out of 10.
Thank you. He's had 4 runners at Glorious Goodwood previously. 3 of those won 33 to 1, 12 to 1 and 9 to 4. Now this one's only had the 3 runs, but it's 2 from 2 at 6 furlongs or shorter, the defeat coming over an extended 6.5 furlongs. And if he's bringing one over to Goodwood, you've got to sit up and take notice. And Big Brother's Pride's around about 14-1, I think.
Well, we saw on Saturday that there's a certain snobbery, isn't there? These foreign sprinters that come, and those German fans were rewarded with a 33-1 winner at Newbury, weren't they? So you can often get real good value about these raiders from Europe.
Okay, so we're all taking something of a view against Batash then.
Just one other quick to mention, Rumble in the Jungle, won the Molecombe last year.
Yes.
There's precious little course form on offer here, and he was very impressive. He's a couple of subdued efforts this year, but that's sort of factored into the price. The first one came on soft ground, the other was at Sandown. Back to Goodwood, 25-1. He too might.
And it will be interesting if Fairyland runs here as well, having finished third in the July Cup, doing best of those who raced down the near side when all the action was down the middle.
Yeah, she was on a Todd, wasn't she?
Yeah, indeed. So a copper night for me, Big Brother's Pride for you, Mountie, and a Rumble in the Jungle for Sam.
I'd go split stakes, those two.
You like copper night as well, to be fair, don't you?
Yeah.
We'll move on to the Unibet Golden Mile, which is also there on the same day. We didn't actually mention Invincible Army, who may well go for that, but I think he's a vulnerable horse generally. The Golden Mile, Mojito heads the market after a classy success at Sandown. Escobar has also been there. I actually quite like the look of last year's Vintage Stakes winner Dark Vision, who ran a cracker over 10 furlongs at a July meeting last time out, just didn't quite get home. I think the drop back to a mile and a return to Goodwood for Dark Vision could see him run a big race here, and at the time of recording he's about 20-1. Golden Mile, Mountie, what do you reckon?
Yeah, first of all, it's Friday, so the false rail comes down, revealing a fresh patch of ground around the inside, making the bend sharper, and it's a big advantage to be drawn low. We've had a couple of Stall 1 winners from this race in recent years, and in told, 1 mile, big fields, Goodwood, you want to be drawn low. Stalls 12 or higher, say 2 from 117 since the draw was reversed in 2011. One of those was drawn 12 of 12, pinged out the stalls, made the running down the middle of the track when it was soft ground, and that's where the best ground was. And the other one, of course, was Moved Swiftly, who won off a mark of 85 from stall 15, and she's now rated 100 and God knows what, winning group races. Yeah, so massive advantage. So fair enough. I understand why people are raving about Mojito after that comeback win. But if he stuck out wide in 17 of 17, you'd be a little bit worried. The one I like is Indeed for Dominic French-Davis. This is an absolute tool. Fantastic horse. First time out, he's come over from André Fabre in France, 50-1 for the Spring Cup at Newbury. It's got a terrible draw in stall 17, and he's just got beat by Chatez, second by a neck at 50-1. 5 of the first 6 home are drawn 6 or lower, I think. Massive advantage to be on the other side of the track and drawn low. Now, he had several entries, including in the Hunt Cup, but Dominic French-Davis wouldn't run him because the ground was deemed too quick. So he's gone to Chelmsford about 10 weeks, 11 weeks after Newbury. He's won over 10 furlongs, a trip that stretches him. And then last Saturday at Newmarket on the July course, good ground was probably quick enough for him, but he's won in the manner of a group
Travelled
horse
like the
waiting.
wrath of God, didn't he?
And everyone was talking about the Cambridgeshire afterwards, but I think that this is a genuine group horse. And if he runs here, for which he's 16-1, gets a lowest draw, he'd be very, very hard to beat with the clear run.
Yeah, I think that Cambridgeshire's a very valid because he stays well. Probably wants a bit of cut in the ground. I think that's a real valid sort of target for him. He's certainly on my shortlist as well.
Yeah, so indeed for the two of you then.
Well, yeah, I think gameplay is interesting as well for Roger Varian. He got 2 entered in, Willie John as well, but I think he's going elsewhere. Gameplayer will be their only sort of candidate for this race. He finished second here over 7 furlongs behind Apex King and then got stuck on the far rail behind Club Wexford. Didn't get the run of the race at Ayr last time. I think he's been earmarked for this race, so I think he's interesting.
Okay. Motta Farwit was one of the ones who was drawn on the wrong side of the Britannia for Richard Hannon. He'd be interesting as well, as would Dark Vision for Mark Johnson, who perhaps didn't stay 10 furlongs at the July meeting.
Kev fancies,
yeah, I fancy that as well myself. So that would be just about it for day 4.
Ryan Moore's won the last 3 renewals.
Has he?
Didn't know that. You've outstaffed me.
Statman, where are you?
You weren't looking at anything either. You just pulled that out, didn't you? Good man yourself.
We'll play rock paper stats later and I'll get you back.
Batash is the star attraction on day 4 at Glorious Good, but we've all taken him on with a big price each way one, so we'll see how we get on there. It might be a folly mission, but we'll try our best anyway. Also, if you're interested in one mention for the Golden Mile, that's it for day 4. Stay with us for more.